Entrepreneurship is an undying force, a spirit that fuels every organization and individual, whether you are an SME, an MSME, or a startup. Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 10. It's been 10 seasons of hand-holding small businesses such as yourself and empowering you in your growth journey. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, we're bringing you a snapshot of what all our different experts have had to say over the past couple of months when it comes to just the trends that are changing entrepreneurship, the trends that are impacting women's employment and entrepreneurship, as well as changing career trends. Here's what they had to say. Listen in.
Small businesses and local homegrown brands are instrumenting a revolution in business. This sector has flourished due to the growing dispensable income of Indians and changes in lifestyle over the last couple of years. Today, the Atmanirbhar spirit reverberates in the country stronger than before. The jump from working at big businesses to people launching their own comes as the pandemic has had dramatic effects on how people want to work. Here's a look at the top trends impacting small businesses and entrepreneurs in 2022. Listen in.
Business is going to change in 2020. Indian economy is going to grow. And I think this is the only economy which is going to go double digit compared to any other country in the world. And a lot of new generation entrepreneurs, everybody, pandemic, one thing. Pandemic or any war, two things, gives you more entrepreneurs. You look at back US, any war has happened, they have built more innovation, more entrepreneurship have come in. And that happens even in pandemic. I'm a strong believer, pandemic is going to help a lot of new generation entrepreneurs to explode in this country. Okay, a lot of ideas. What will come, and I think is going to be chosen by the society at large. But healthcare system is going to give a steady, stable business. But next one I'm seeing IT and physics and chemistry and life science, all of them are going to be together. It is not going to be separate. So you want a physics to be integrated into diagnostic? Yes, it will get it. And IT to be integrated? Yes, it's going to integrate into diagnostic and manufacturing process, all those things. Machine learning, yes, it's going to help the manufacturing process of the companies itself. So you don't need to service engineer. It can be put in our equipment, manufacturing equipment, connected to internet, and machine learning will tell what to be rectified. Okay, so all that, cars have come like that now. So I think these are all going to change, and we are seeing that changes in happening in other segments that are all going to integrate into the health side.
About 5 to 6 years back, it would have seemed impossible to think that young brands making products in India and very proudly Indian could emerge and compete with the large FMCG players. But I think all of that has been made possible thanks to the insane smartphone adoption and the internet penetration that's happened. I think the prediction is that in the next 4 to 5 years, almost 1 billion people will have internet access. For us, the big shift that has happened is that 5, 6 years back, less than 10% of the e-commerce shoppers were women. Now it's about 43%. This really changes things because for brands and companies to get discovered 5 to 10 years back, it would require a lot of marketing dollars, but we can bypass all that by just using social media platforms to get across. So for us, for instance, Instagram, which now has like more than 100 million users, is a platform that makes it much easier for sugar to get discovered. And then, of course, e-commerce, in India, which for beauty as a category is expected to become like 15-16% of market share in the next 4 to 5 years. That will make it easy for good quality products to get discovered rather than, only the ones that are screaming loudest on television to get discovered. So I think for India, the whole emergence of young brands and access to e-commerce has really changed the number of companies that have, and COVID has just seen an acceleration both of e-commerce adoption as well as digital payments.
I think I would say 3 things that have happened, which are really making it relevant for a small business to sort of go for digital mediums, digital technologies, and digital platforms. Right. Firstly, democratization, and democratization from both sides. One is from the democratization of consumption of content. Right? Yeah. Earlier, you either, there was some cable television channel houses and some others which did not have them. And hence the reach of media was very diverse. Similarly, houses which used to receive print and houses which would not receive. And the smartphone has just made content consumption so easy, and in your hands and to your liking. And that content democratization in terms of wherever you are in India, you might be watching the same thing that someone in Singapore is also watching, right? So that has happened, and that has also led to democratization of media. And earlier, media could only be bought in very large packets. And if to buy, not every brand or small business could think of buying a print ad or could think of buying like a TV spot. And today, people can buy very small packets of media and target people correctly, right? And reach out to the audience that is interested in them. And the second thing for me is localization. And again, targeting was very difficult, and small businesses which were running in a certain geography or running or targeting a certain very niche problem and could not really find that audience and have a medium through which they could reach out to them. And now small businesses with the power of Google ecosystem, Facebook ecosystem, and some of the other ecosystems which are available and can reach out to these sharper targets and convert them. And third, the entire fintech and payments ecosystem and the way that has evolved, right? Of course, starting with COD, and which was in itself a revolution to sort of take care of India's cash habits.
2 or 3 things to call out, Sunanda. One, companies are a lot more ambitious about building national and global businesses from a very early stage when you look at timelines, right? I think 10 years ago, most small businesses wanted to see a lot of traction. They wanted to see growth for a while before they would even look at expanding to other states, let alone think of their businesses as global. I think there's a lot more ambition at the moment and a lot more confidence to chase that ambition, where I do think, thanks to digital and platforms like ours, there's comfort that the idea that they have can be relevant for people, not just in their city or in a local community, that it can be relevant for the world. That's one big change that we're seeing. I think the second big change that we're seeing is the desire to build the direct connect with consumers, right? I think we have now given it a label, D2C, direct to consumer. But fundamentally, the confidence that, let's build products and services and be in a position to not just build a consumer brand, but be in a position to have the ability to ship directly to consumers, to have a lot more connect with consumers directly. And I think that's been enabled by the scale of the India internet and platforms like ours. Those are the two big areas where I see a lot of change. The willingness to go global from day one, and in every sector, having a lot more confidence to build affinity and business models going all the way to the last mile.
I'm going to take a quick break on that note. We're back in just a moment. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow Season 10. This is a very special anniversary edition where we're calling out the big trends which are impacting the lives of entrepreneurs and the way entrepreneurship is being done. Listen.
India's job market has been through a huge amount of upheaval over the last 2 years, thanks largely to the pandemic, and the situation isn't likely to calm down in 2022. Since the job market is so volatile, it is important than ever to stay on top of the substantial changes and trends. We've rounded up some of the top trends that you should expect to see in 2022. Stay tuned.
My view is that, the skills of the future are not going to be unidirectional. I think you've got to be, creative, because I think creative skills are going to be very important. I mean, if you think about what many of the tech companies need today, you need people who actually can express themselves, people who can give you content, people who can actually read and write properly. I mean, those skills have started disappearing, and those are becoming important skills for tomorrow. If you think about design, that's becoming such an important skill, right? So if you're creative, I think that is going to be a very effective skill that will always endure forever. The next skill that I'm talking about is, of course, it's such a data-led world that we are in. We never understood data, appreciated data, or valued data like we do today. But we still have to make sense of it. And I think people who are smart to interpret data, those skills are going to be very important. How do we, generate data? How do we analyze data? How do we interpret data? How do we, base our decisions based on correct data? That's also going to be a very important skill. I think the math skill is going to be very, very important in many of these areas. Of course, computing skills are going to be important because digital is the world we are in today.
Sure.
And of course, apart from that, in biology, I would say there is so much going on. I mean, all the kind of biomedical advances that are taking place and biological advances that are taking place are just mind-boggling. Believe me, there's so much more to discover, learn, and create new knowledge and new opportunities out of that knowledge. So So these are all the kind of trends that I'm thinking of, which cuts across different spheres.
Education has always helped in terms of jobs, even though your wage may go down, or relative wage, sorry, let me emphasize, may go down. It is are we going to get back to more or less what we had before? We know, for example, Zoom and technology, artificial intelligence, etc. But the rest of the world is there. And climate is one area where I would think any policy, any manufacturing, etc., on climate change, solar, you name it, is going to be quite successful. There's a lot of support, international support for any carbon mitigation policies, and there will continue to be. So that's in manufacturing. So I think that's the one sector I would say. We know in terms of automobiles that electric vehicles are going to be the thing. We're already moving in that direction. Anything related to the electric vehicles rather than the old passenger vehicle, old gasoline-driven vehicles is another area. So that's the switch. It's still automobiles, but it is not the traditional automobile. So those are, but I think as you will see from that carbon and climate is a major focus area for growth in the world.
Idea of jobs, stable jobs and careers is going away. It's going to be applicable to a vanishingly few number of people. And more of us are going to, not everybody can be an entrepreneur, but certainly most of us are going to have to learn sooner than later to be self-employed. Mm-hmm. I think the other interesting trend is just remote and hybrid work. And I don't see that pendulum swinging back, substantially post-COVID, if there is a post-COVID. Okay. And so that's, again, a terrific trend because people can work from anywhere and you can access talent anywhere. So that's beautiful. I would think that one of the things that's happening is people are living much longer. And as a consequence of living much longer, you no longer have that three-stage life where you just study and learn till you're 20, earn till you're 60, and then you retire and enjoy. I think now you have to work much longer. People will want to do that. And so you have to constantly reinvent yourself, unlearn, relearn new things. So that's a crucial thing. If you are reasonably good at these four things, it turns out you're going to be quite okay.
I think people are moving away from employment to entrepreneurship. And that's the mindset now is coming in. I think the number of people even coming out of the colleges, probably their aspiration to become an entrepreneur is actually far higher today rather than become an employee.
Yes.
And that's something is definitely happening. Second is actually the way Indian consumer getting adapted to the change in the technology that is coming in. I think clearly the people who are in the service side using the technology and creating a product that can actually be a next gen kind of product. That's something again creating a new opportunity for India. It's not coming only from India, even globally. And that is where I think the most of the spending is likely to go up. I think clearly there used to be a question mark that in global market, what's the kind of annual budgeting that one is looking at in terms of digital upgradation and technology upgradation. Earlier, people used to have reservation in terms of how much you want to spend and so on and so forth. Clearly, if you look at most of the spending that happens actually is more towards this area only. Making yourself digitally highly capable, making yourself technology highly capable, both on infrastructure as well as on the digital platform. That is being the case, the spending allocation, like normal capital happens, going to be very large in sectors. I would assume one has to look at this sector on a holistic basis as a structurally longer term story, rather than looking at this story as this sector as a more of a thematic or cyclical kind of story.
Women now have more opportunities than ever before to start their own businesses, thanks to the normalization of hybrid and work from home trends. They can now choose to work from the convenience of their home or place of employment, and they have access to global talent and flexibility. Their skill, reliability, commitment, awareness, and responsibility for their work are unmatched. Here's a look at the top trends impacting women entrepreneurs.
We got to get women back in the workforce. This 37, 27, 20% statistics of women labor participation, we cannot be okay with those numbers. We cannot regress as a country. We need to do a lot more to get them out there. Even that 2.3% funding that we spoke about, we got to change a lot of numbers where women in this country are concerned. Being a woman leader, one of the things that always pains me the most is when World Economic Forum did a survey on women's health on 156 countries, India ranked 155, which is bottom 2. How can we be okay with these statistics, right? And then when MCure did its first of its kind survey on women's health, we found that 2/3 women we surveyed, and this is top tier metro educated working women, don't want to talk about health issues because they think it's a taboo and they'll be judged for it. And there's a social stigma. They don't go for their annual checkups. So that explains why we are 155 out of 156.
Often I think, no matter how good you are, there is some doubt in the minds of people as to whether a woman leader will prioritize family over work and not be able to deliver on time. Now, you have to create a reputation for yourself so that, your path gets smoothened as you move ahead. And that reputation of yourself gets created in the early years. So, in the early years, you really and truly have to, make that extra effort to create that reputation for yourself. And again, something that I continuously tell my people is that, your presence should be felt. Your absence should never be felt.
Looking at some of the statistics which are very worrying on this front, the fact that COVID's impact on women workforce across the country and indeed across the world has really been pretty serious. There's an Oxfam India figure which says the estimated economic loss from women losing their jobs during the pandemic is nearly $216 billion. And that women contributed to the nation in COVID times as teachers, as ASHA workers, as nurses, as paramedics, self-help group leaders, community kitchens, sanitation workers. Each one has led the war on COVID. So that's the positive. But the negative is people, women in particular, have lost jobs. And many turned their traditional female skills into a livelihood. So that's terrific. started home-based businesses encompassing textiles, catering, boutiques, crafts, etc. And I believe it is these women who will pave the path for many more women entrepreneurs to realize their full potential, because these women managed to pivot to conquer the issues that they began to face at COVID, where their existing businesses were indeed an issue. And they pivoted to change and make COVID an opportunity.
Well, I think the fact that work from home has become a lot more normal now, that has really helped women overall. And, there are companies that we ourselves would have never dreamt of hiring the most senior leaders in our company without ever meeting them. So I think the fact that overall companies, opened up to work from home a lot more during this period is really a win-win for women. On the other hand, I personally also saw that, the risk-taking appetite for women and women entrepreneurs was actually much lesser during COVID compared to their male counterparts. Very often families said that, oh, COVID impact, how will you bear through this? So just shut down your business. Later on, I do want to come back to how family support is really important for us to have more women entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. But, not everybody got that support. So we saw many businesses folding as well. Many women actually came up and made use of that remote opportunity. And we saw a lot of new businesses coming up. And now when you see things like WhatsApp shopping, Instagram shopping, so a lot of, women actually took up to these new digitized ways of earning money, which they had not explored before, perhaps. So definitely there was, there were some pros as well.
That concludes tonight's episode, but we will continue as part of this very special series of conversations calling out the big trends, events, entrepreneurs and businesses who are impacting the way entrepreneurship is being done in the country, who are innovating and changing lives. For tonight, it's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.